Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sam, here today with another installment of my new series, Once Memories. So today, I want to talk about Twice's pre-debut survival show, 16, and I think some of you guys might expect me to talk about, stuff that happened on the show, my thoughts, opinions, but actually I want this series to be more of a reflection of my life in context of Twice's eras, so albums and the pre-debut as well, as in 16. So yeah, I'm just gonna go talk about a little background information about my life and how 16 as a whole has really affected me today, right? And I also want to elicit you guys' own responses if you guys watched 16 when it was ongoing or maybe after, and if that has affected you in any way. So I think it is going to be a little corny, I guess, saying that 16 had an impact on my life, but I really think it did, and I'll explain to you guys shortly. So, just to give you a little background information, 16 aired in the summer of 2015 from May to July, and this period of time was towards the end of my tenure, my 3 years at UC Davis. So, I graduated with a double major, political science and history, and like I said, 16 was airing towards the end of that. So, just like my last episode when I talked about how it was a pretty big coincidence that I ended up watching 16, I think it was also a really big coincidence that 16 ended up paralleling pretty close to a time where I was also at a crossroads in life. So, like I said before, double majored in history and political science, and that really limits, I think, what you can do post graduation. Going into undergrad, signing up to go to Davis once I got accepted, I had signed up as a political science major. And I think I always had the ambition to become an attorney, to be a lawyer. But, 3 years under my belt at Davis, my grades weren't the best. I also, looked at other things I could do. I considered working for the government. I also volunteered at some nonprofits, and I was actually a little interested in teaching. So during high school, I volunteered at an elementary school during my time in Davis because I didn't really have a heavy workload, and I didn't really go to class that often, to be honest. I'd also volunteered at a middle school. So I had some experience, being a teacher. And I honestly seriously considered doing it, especially since my grades weren't the best. Not to, put down teachers in any way, but I think getting into grad school for education is a lot less competitive in terms of GPA and extracurriculars than, say, law school. So, that was a legitimate choice for me. And, I wasn't really sure, like I said, at the end of my time at Davis, my GPA wasn't that great. I think it wasn't even actually in the range of admitted students at UC Hastings where I ended up going. So, it wasn't looking very bright. My future wasn't looking that bright in terms of going to law school. So, during the year, I had actually received an email from my school, a counselor. It's like one of those mass, listserv emails about teaching English in Korea. So, before 16 aired, I'd actually already submitted my application to go to Korea to teach for 6 months. And I know some people probably see teaching overseas as a career, but I never considered that to be a end game career for me. It's just kind of a way to explore teaching as a possibility, some real in class experience as the teacher instead of just an assistant. And to be honest, while I did consider teaching, I think in my heart it was always like I said I was settling for it. In that I didn't think I was, I had the capability to go to law school with my GPA and extracurricular stuff like that. So, it was kind of a bummer at the time. But like I said, I watched 16 while it was airing. It was actually the highlight of my weeks there. Those last final days in Davis, final months in Davis. It was really hot in Davis. I just remembered watching 16 is always associated with the heat for me because it was super hot in Davis that time of year. I was living in a house that didn't have air conditioning. We had like a big fan, but we didn't have central AC. So it was always very hot. And I just always think of that when I think of 16, to be honest. But also at the same time, I still always had that thought of, maybe I do want to go to law school, but, I still didn't have high hopes. But as I watched the series 16, all the members, not just the Twice members, but all the contestants, all the participants in 16 were always working so hard to achieve their dream. They're putting in so much effort, perseverance, whether they got into major and had the benefits or, they were stuck in minor trying to work their way up. They always gave it their all and believed in themselves to fight for their dream. So, after watching episode after episode, again, I know it's really corny, but it kind of gave me a little bit of hope and the willpower to actually even just attempt to go to law school. I think knowing my personality after Korea, because I knew it wasn't a long-term thing, like I said, I think I would have done it anyway, eventually, gone back, applied to law school and gone. But I really didn't have motivation at the time. So maybe I would have waited like a year or two, like most students actually do. I think most students take a couple of years off after undergrad before going to law school. But, I knew it was always a dream of mine, to become an attorney, to be a lawyer. So after watching 16, watching all the trials and tribulations that the members went through to get to, become a 9-member group Twice, I really decided that, what, I'm just going to do it. So before I left for my trip, because I left to go to Korea in August 2015. Before that, I actually went and bought some study books, two study books for the LSAT, which you need to take to get into law school. And, with the mindset to study while I was in Korea, take the LSAT in Korea, and then apply for law school, while I was still in Korea. And you know what? At the end of the day, I did do it. And you guys, if you're on my channel, you probably know that I recently did graduate from law school. So, it worked out. But even though, when we watch 16, I think, at least for a lot of onces who watch 16 after Twice was already formed, I think the stigma is that it's negative because all the stuff that Twice had to endure, like the photo episode, Momo being eliminated and then brought back, things like that, it kind of brings a negative connotation to the series. But personally for me, it's really tied into, my final days in undergrad, the perseverance that the members put in, the amount of work they put in to get to where they were, which really, like I said, inspired me to bet on myself, even though I knew the odds were against me. Like, they really were. My grades were not good. Not good enough to get into law school, at least. But somehow, some way, I got a pretty good LSAT score. I wrote, I guess, a pretty convincing letter, got some letters of recommendation, and ended up getting into UC Hastings, among others. But I wanted to stay in the Bay Area, close to home. So ended up going to Hastings, and everything worked out in the end. So, yeah, for me, 16 is always going to be a symbol of hope, a symbol of hard work and paying off. And, yeah, it's always going to have a special place in my heart, even though there are some negative connotations. And that's my story. And I kind of want to know, for those of you who watched, both those of you who watched the series when it was going like me, or those of you who watched it after Twice has already debuted, whether or not, the series has any sort of unique or special tie to anything in your life. Because for me, like I said, I think it really has a positive tie to where I am now. And I think it really did have a major impact. It really did change my life. I'm like cringing thinking about how corny that does sound, but it's true. So, yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts, and that's been my story. Thanks for watching or listening, And hope you guys listen on the next episode, which will be about Story Begins. All right. See you guys next time.